What's up guys, Silver here with another Halo Master Chief Collection Achievement Guide. This time we're doing part 9 of our Halo CE LASO walkthrough. This is the level keys, so start this up. Right off the bat, we're starting with a trick to get us to the end of the mission. Historically, the way to skip to the end of the mission was to use the shield bump, but the flood bump has replaced that strategy. Essentially, we're going to lead the first flood combat form that spawns in the beginning of this mission to a specific spot, kill him in a specific way, then stand on top of him. So when he revives, he will push us up into the ceiling and over a wall we need to get past to get to the end of the mission. But the catch is, when a combat form spawns in, it's random as to whether that particular enemy will revive or not. But the good news is you can manipulate the game to guarantee that the combat form will always be a reviver at the start of this mission. The methods on Xbox and PC are slightly different, but easy enough, and I'll go over both, starting with the Xbox right now. On Xbox, you need to be in classic graphics, then watch the opening cutscene, don't skip any of it at all, and then towards the end of the cutscene, you want to start pressing the up button on the D-pad. Just hold it down. I start holding it down once Cortana teleports Chief into the ship, but it doesn't matter as long as you start holding it down before the cutscene finishes. So the button you want to hit, the only button you want to hit, is the up button on the D-pad. And then as the cutscene finishes, you'll spawn into the mission, and you'll be moving forward since you're pressing the up button on the D-pad. Don't press any other buttons. This is very important. If you press any other buttons, you'll screw it up. Once you go through the first set of doors, though, you'll spawn in a grunt and the combat form we're looking for, and at this point, you could press whatever buttons you want since the combat form is done spawning. But by holding up on the D-pad through the end of the cutscene and into the beginning of the mission here, you'll ensure that the combat form at the end of the hallway here will be a reviver, and then you'll want to shoot in front of him to get the combat form's attention, and you want to get him to chase you all the way back to the beginning of the mission, which is not that far. Just have him chase you back down the hallway to where we spawned, and we're going to stand in a specific spot. But here we are, we're going to do it again real quick. I'm going to hold up on the D-pad, so just continue to hold up on the D-pad through the end of the cutscene, spawn in. I'm still holding up on the D-pad, so I'm moving forward, pressing nothing else or you'll screw it up. Once you get to these doors, they'll open up. You might bump into the left side of it, but that's okay. Just keep going. You can see the grunt and the flood form have spawned in, so we're going to run along the left side of the hall while shooting our assault rifle, and we're going to get the attention of that combat form like I mentioned. And you want to continue going down the left side of the hall because that's where we want to lead the combat form here. And you can see I switched to the anniversary graphics because it doesn't matter anymore. We've already manipulated the flood combat form to be a reviver, so we don't care about the graphics now. And I like to use the anniversary graphics here because it's easier to see where you want to go. You can see this big smudge of blood goo or something on the wall, and I like to just look at that hexagon on the wall right there to the left of that goo, kind of in the crescent of goo. And then once the flood form comes up to us, we're going to jump right over to the other side of him. We don't really want to make him move at all, so I just jumped right on top of him and just over the side so he didn't move, or minimize his movement at least. And we want to shoot and kill this guy, but we want to kill him by shooting the right top side of him. You can see I'm not shooting the center or anything. And when he falls over, you want to get on him and kind of press yourself up against the wall while centering yourself on his body. So when he does stand back up, he'll kind of push you up and over the wall. You can see this time I actually didn't really get pushed up and over entirely. Usually you do get pushed up and over, but this time I actually just got pushed up and onto the wall, and I kind of had to maneuver a little bit to get into the hallway here. So you can see we've made it onto the other side of this broken wreckage part of the wall, and I'll show you right now. For PC, it's almost the exact same as Xbox, but with a few small but important differences. The first is on PC, you actually need to be on the anniversary graphics to start. So put on the new graphics, watch the entire cutscene like on Xbox, and instead of holding the up button on the D-pad, we're actually going to hold down two buttons. Those buttons are forward and melee, which are W and Q for me. Check your settings, your melee button might be different, but hold down forward and melee as you watch the end of the cutscene and go into the beginning of the level. As you spawn, your character will melee at the beginning of the level, and at that point you want to release melee, but continue holding the forward button. And like on Xbox, you don't want to hit any other buttons as you move forward and spawn in the combat form, but once you do spawn them in, you can hit whatever buttons you like and switch up the graphics if you want, just like on Xbox. And starting the mission this way will ensure you get the reviver to start, and from here it's going to be the same thing as we did on Xbox. Just wanted to show you guys how to reliably get the reviver on PC. Now we're back where we left off in our previous run, so we have to spawn in the enemies first. So to do that, we have to go to the right actually. And if you're in the old graphics, it's actually kind of intimidating because there's a big dark abyss over here. Don't worry, it's a wall. You can't walk and fall out of the ship or anything. Just walk up to it. That will spawn in the enemies. And we'll go over here where they've spawned in, and they actually have spawned in, but their AI is not present, so they don't actually move around or do anything. They're just standing there, but you do still need to kill them. And one thing I just showed there is the fact that the grunts still do blow up when they die, so you want to make sure you're not assassinating them and then just kind of sitting around waiting for them to explode, because they will explode and kill you, so watch out for that. But like I mentioned, we do need to kill all these guys, because if you leave them alive, they will actually come attack you during the cutscene, and then you will die in the middle of the cutscene, and then you'll be set back to the beginning of the level, so that's not cool. So these guys, you can't really tell if they're alive or dead just by looking at them, but you can tell because of the reticle on your screen. So if your reticle lights up red, dead, that means they're alive and you need to kill them. You could just take some time and melee them. I'm going to end up killing a lot with my guns here, using the infinite ammo glitch to conserve ammo. But you could just smack these guys and just continue to, lay into them. It takes a long time to kill flood guys via melee, but if you wanted to save as much ammo as possible and, just take it nice and slow, you could always do that. One thing to note is the carrier forms. They actually are still there and present and alive, even though when you put your targeting reticle on them, it doesn't light up red like for all the other enemies, which is kind of weird. I don't know why that is. But what you want to do is kind of stand back and shoot them 4 times with a magnum typically, because that will actually get them to explode. And you want to make sure that you're far away from them when they do explode, because all these guys, when you kill them, they kind of stay standing for a while until they fall over and then disappear. So you'll notice that there's kind of a delayed reaction from when you kill the enemy to when he actually falls down on the ground. So kind of weird. But another thing you want to keep track of is the fact that these guys are dropping frag grenades and plasma nades as they die. So you want to make sure that you're not, throwing a grenade at a bunch of enemies, not realizing that there's a bunch of other grenades on the ground, leading to a chain reaction and killing yourself. So just be aware of that, because that is something I've done multiple times, not realizing that, I was killing myself, basically. And you can see I'm reloading these weapons without using any ammo. That's the infinite ammo glitch in action. So basically how to do it is very easy. All you need is 3 weapons that you could pick up. So the 2 weapons I'm holding plus 1 more weapon on the ground. And all you do is you hit reload, and then you switch to the weapon that's on the ground right afterwards. So hit reload, switch to the weapon on the ground, and you'll notice that the sound of the reload animation still plays, and you want to make sure that that sound effect actually concludes before you pick it up again, or else you will use the ammo. But if you wait for the sound effect to finish and then pick it up, you'll notice that your weapon is totally reloaded and the ammo count is untouched. So basically you could have infinite ammo as you use this glitch. Another tip is to not go back through the hallway from where we entered this room from, because we will actually spawn in more enemies if we do that, and then we'll have to spend more time killing them and using more ammo and everything. So we don't want to do that, and it's especially bad if you don't realize you've done that and then you go hit the cutscene and then they all come kill you. So that is definitely a possibility. Don't let that happen. Just don't go back in that hallway until we're ready to, hit the cutscene and then go back into that hallway to finish the mission. So we're going to go over here and finish these guys off. Another thing to note, one last thing, is the fact that these carrier forms tend to not explode when they die until you go to a specific spot on the map. So these guys, you could see, he just died from the score going up, 132 right there on the side of the screen. He won't actually explode until I go back towards this door that we entered the room from. So don't go back in that hallway, because you'll spawn in enemies like I mentioned earlier. But you want to go back towards this door to get the carrier form to explode. And you can see I'm all the way over here on the right side of the door. I'm keeping as much distance as possible from that guy who's exploding, obviously to minimize damage and everything. So same thing I did for the previous carrier form as well. You'll notice if you go back and see where I was when that guy exploded. But now we are done with all these guys, so we can move on to triggering the cutscene by going up this ramp. I'm going to skip the cutscene. We'll come out. We want to turn to the right and then go to the door where we came from. And there's going to be a bunch of Covenant over here, but we want to open the door up so that gets the enemies to come in and fight the Flood, who are actually going to be pouring into the room as well. So we want to go back to this pillar and just hide here once we get those doors opened and those Covenant to join the fight. And we're basically just going to wait back here and have them kind of whittle each other down. And you can look through this pillar, actually. There's kind of some partially see-through paneling here on this pillar, so you could actually kind of be a peeping Tom and just kind of spectate on the fight and see how it's going over there. And the Flood tend to win this fight, so we're going to have to deal with some of those guys eventually in the near future. So we're just waiting for the action to die down. Looks like there's not really much happening. Those guys who are coming into the room are gathering in the middle towards the bottom of that ramp that we went up to activate the cutscene. So they're not going towards the left anymore to engage the Covenant. So they all must be dead. So I'm going to wait a little bit, but then we'll run forward and throw a couple frag grenades at their formation over there. You can see they're all bunched up, so you get a bunch of kills real quick. Be careful of those carrier forms. They might, get blasted towards you. Obviously, you want to try to have them blast away from you, not towards you. But you can see there were a bunch right there gathered, so we just kind of wait for them to bunch up and then throw a couple nades, and we're out of here. Health pack right here. Grab that if you want to, or need to, whatever. And as we round the corner, it's going to say loading on your screen, and at that point you want to stop moving forward because there is a grunt on the other side of this doorway, and he's scripted to die. So he falls over and then explodes with the grunt funeral skull on, so you want to avoid that blast by not moving forward and straight into it. So stop when it says loading, wait for the explosion, then you can move forward. There's a couple Flood combat forms in here along with some infection forms, and they will move out and engage the Covenant if you let them. Obviously, you could just take them out yourself if you want to, but we're going to slowly peek our heads out and shoot these grunts in the head. There's a handful of grunts straight ahead of us with one elite, and to the right of the doorway that we're trying to exit out of, there's another elite along with another group of grunts. One thing you want to note is the fact that these grunts have fuel rods. Not all of them, but some of them do, so watch out for those guys. And there will be an explosion from the grunt funeral skull every time they die, plus the fuel rods detonate whenever their user dies. So there's going to be 2 explosions from fuel rod grunts that you kill. So we'll take out all these grunts, and of course we're looking for those explosions to take out the elite as well. If not, you have some pistol and shotgun where you can close the gap and shotgun them to death. And you got some frags if you have any left over. And now we're going to take out these guys. It looks like they all died actually from the explosion, so that's good news. If you need health or shield, like it looks like I do, I don't see any of my health, so I don't know how weak I am right there. But there's a health pack in the wall over here, so you can go grab that, because we're going to drop down here nice and easily. We'll take some fall damage, but nothing major. And then we'll walk over here, and we're going to drop down again behind the Banshee as it lands. There's more health over there where I'm zoomed in with the Magnum if you really need it, but we do not at this point, so we're going to assassinate that elite as he gets out, get in the Banshee ourselves, and we're going to fly out of the hangar into the final mission, the Maw. So I will see you for that, guys. Thanks for watching. We got one more to go. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found that video helpful, be sure to click on the scorpion icon to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You could also check out some related guides by clicking on the videos on screen, and you could find links in the description for other social media links of mine. Stay tuned for more Halo guides, and I'll see you in the next one.